Elena Moore sat alone at table 12, Christmas lights blurring through unshed tears as the waiter placed champagne meant for a man who never came. Around her, couples laughed, forks clinked, and the room slowly realized she had been left behind. She was counting out money to escape when a stranger sat down across from her and said her name like he belonged there. Before she could stop him, he dropped to one knee in the middle of the restaurant, and in that single, unthinkable moment, a woman's humiliation became the beginning of a family she never saw coming. The dress was too much. Elena knew it the moment she stepped into Holly and Oak dining room, but it was too late to turn back now. Deep forest green with tiny silver threads that caught the candlelight she'd bought it 3 years ago for a wedding that never happened. Tonight felt like the right time to finally wear it. A fresh start. Christmas Eve. A blind date with someone her coworker swore was perfect for her. Table 12 sat in the center of the dining room, beneath a chandelier wrapped in pine garlands and white lights. Elena smoothed the fabric over her knees and tried not to notice the couples surrounding her. Every table seemed to hold two people leaning toward each other, sharing plates, laughing at private jokes. Her phone buzzed. "Sorry, something came up. Can't make it." She read it twice. 3 times. The words didn't change. Elena set the phone face down on the white tablecloth and pressed her fingertips against her closed eyes. "Don't cry. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Good evening, miss." The waiter appeared beside her, professional smile firmly in place. "Your companion called ahead. The champagne is already on its way, his treat. Wait, But the waiter was already gone, returning moments later with a silver bucket and 2 flutes. The cork released with a soft pop that seemed to echo through the suddenly quiet restaurant. Elena felt eyes turning toward her table, watching, waiting. The waiter poured 1 glass, then 2. He set them both in front of her and retreated. Someone at the next table whispered. A woman 3 tables over looked at her phone, then at Elena, then back at her phone. The Christmas music playing overhead, "I'll Be Home for Christmas," felt like a cruel joke. Elena's throat tightened. She reached for her purse with trembling fingers and pulled out her wallet. She'd pay for the champagne she didn't order, leave a generous tip for the awkward situation, and disappear before the pity looks turned into actual pity. $40. She had $40 in cash. Was that enough? The room felt too warm, too bright, too full of people who weren't sitting alone at a table set for 2 with champagne they didn't want and a date who never existed. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the hardwood floor. The sound drew more stares. Her hands shook as she tried to count bills, but the numbers swam together. 20. No. 30. Or was it? "Elena?" A man's voice. Close. She looked up to find a stranger standing beside table 12, tall, dark-haired, wearing a navy sweater that brought out worried gray eyes. He looked at her like he knew her, like he'd been expecting her. Before she could respond, before she could explain that he must have the wrong person, he sat down across from her. "I'm so sorry I'm late," he said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Traffic was terrible. Elena opened her mouth, closed it, stared. The man reached across the table and took one of her hands, the one still clutching crumpled bills. His palm was warm and slightly rough, like he worked with his hands. His grip was gentle but firm, grounding her when everything else felt like it was spinning. "Just breathe," he said quietly, his voice dropping below the din of the restaurant. "I'm Caleb, and I promise this is going to be okay." She didn't know him, didn't understand what was happening. But for the first time in an hour, the tightness in her chest began to ease. Then he stood up, still holding her hand, and dropped to one knee. 15 minutes earlier, Caleb Harrison had been trying to convince his 7-year-old daughter that Brussels sprouts weren't a punishment. "They're tiny cabbages, Dad." Mia pushed the green spheres around her plate with a fork. Why would anyone eat tiny cabbages? Because they're good for you. That's what adults say about everything terrible. Caleb bit back a smile. She had her mother's logic sharp and impossible to argue with. One bite. That's all I'm asking. Mia's attention drifted past him, toward the center of the dining room. Dad? Who's that lady? What lady? The one in the green dress. At table 12. She looks. Mia's small face creased with concern. She looks like she's going to cry. Caleb turned slightly. A woman sat alone beneath the chandelier, staring at her phone with an expression he recognized too well. It was the look of someone trying very hard not to fall apart in public. The waiter brought champagne, 2 glasses, and the woman's face went pale. Why is she by herself? Mia whispered. It's Christmas Eve. Nobody should be alone on Christmas Eve. Sometimes people choose to eat alone, sweetheart. But she doesn't look like she chose it. Mia set down her fork. Dad, do you know her? He looked closer. Something about the woman's profile struck him as familiar, but he couldn't place it. Dark hair pulled back, elegant posture despite the obvious distress. Then the woman stood abruptly, fumbling with money, and he saw her full face. Recognition hit him like a punch to the chest. That's Miss Elena, Mia said softly. From art class. When Mom died. The memory surfaced, dropping Mia at elementary school 6 months after Rachel's funeral, watching his daughter walk into class like a ghost. He'd been terrified she'd never smile again. Then he'd met with her teacher, Elena Moore, who'd quietly handed him a drawing Mia had made during lunch. It showed 3 stick figures. A mother in the sky, a father on the ground, and a little girl in between, holding both their hands. She let me draw when I couldn't talk, Mia said. She never made me explain. At table 12, Elena was gathering her things with shaking hands. A woman at the neighboring table pulled out her phone, taking a picture. Someone else whispered behind a menu. Dad. Mia's voice was urgent. We have to do something. Caleb watched Miss Elena try to count money through tears. He thought about the worst year of his life, how small kindnesses from strangers had kept him breathing, how someone simply sitting with him in the hospital cafeteria had made him feel less alone. He stood up. Stay here, baby. I'll be right back. Caleb had no plan. That was the terrifying part. He simply walked to table 12, guided by the memory of his daughter drawing pictures of her dead mother and a teacher who'd understood without needing explanations. Elena? She looked up, confused, scared. Her eyes were wet, mascara threatening to run. I'm so sorry I'm late, he said, making his voice carry. The nearby tables were watching. He felt their attention like heat on his back. Traffic was terrible. He sat down without waiting for permission. Up close, he could see how hard she was trying to hold herself together. Her jaw was clenched, her breathing shallow. Just breathe, he said quietly. I'm Caleb, and I promise, this is going to be okay. The confusion in her eyes shifted to something else, a desperate gratitude that told him she understood what he was trying to do. He was giving her a story, a reason to still be sitting here, an escape from humiliation. But it wasn't enough. He could feel the room's attention already starting to drift. People would talk later. Poor woman. Stood up on Christmas Eve. How sad. How pathetic. Unless the thought arrived, fully formed, insane and perfect. Caleb stood, his heart hammering against his ribs. He kept hold of Elena's hand as he moved beside the table. Then he lowered himself to one knee. The restaurant went silent. Elena's eyes went wide. What are you? I know this wasn't the plan, Caleb said, loud enough for everyone to hear. His mind raced ahead of his mouth, improvising wildly. I know we said we'd wait, but I've been carrying this ring around for weeks, and sitting here tonight, looking at you. He swallowed hard. I can't wait anymore. He reached into his pocket. His fingers found the simple silver band he'd worn on a chain around his neck for the past 3 years, Rachel's wedding ring. He'd kept it close, unable to put it away but unable to look at it either. Now he held it up between them, catching the candlelight. "Elena Moore," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "Will you marry me?" The silence stretched. Every person in Holly and Oak dining room held their breath. Elena stared at him. At the ring. At the hope he was offering her a way to transform her worst moment into something else entirely. He saw the calculation happening behind her eyes, the question, "Do I go along with this stranger's insane lie?" Then her expression shifted. The fear receded. Something else took its place, a reckless courage that matched his own. "Yes," she whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear." "Yes," Elena said louder, a laugh breaking through her tears. The restaurant erupted. Applause thundered through the room. Someone cheered. The waiter appeared out of nowhere with more champagne, grinning like he'd been in on it the whole time. A woman at the next table was crying. Her husband pulled out his phone, already recording. Caleb slid the ring onto Elena's finger. It was too loose, spinning around her slender hand, and stood. He pulled her up with him, and she stumbled slightly in her heels, laughing and crying at the same time. "Thank you," she whispered, so quietly only he could hear. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he murmured back. Everyone in this room just saw that happen. Elena's eyes widened as the realization hit. Around them, phones were out, cameras flashing. The manager was approaching with a congratulatory bottle of wine. "Oh God," Elena breathed. "Yeah." Caleb looked at the ring on her finger, his wife's ring, on a stranger's hand, surrounded by witnesses. "I think we might have made a mistake." But across the restaurant, Mia was bouncing in her seat, grinning wider than she had in 3 years. Maybe not a mistake, Caleb thought. "We should probably figure out our story," Elena said. "Probably." He paused. "I'm Caleb Harrison, by the way, and that little girl trying to climb over her chair to get to us is my daughter, Mia." Elena smiled a real smile this time. "I know. I was her art teacher." "I know," he smiled back. "That's why I did this." By morning, they were famous. The video hit the local Willow Creek group, first grainy phone footage of a man on one knee, a woman saying yes through tears, an entire restaurant celebrating. By dawn, it had spread to neighboring towns. By noon, the regional news had picked it up. Christmas miracle. Man saves woman from blind date disaster with surprise proposal. Elena's phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Text messages from cousins she hadn't spoken to in years. A call from her mother in Arizona, demanding details. Her principal at Riverside Elementary leaving a voicemail that somehow managed to sound both congratulatory and concerned. She stood in Northbound Pages, Caleb's bookstore on Main Street, staring at her phone while Caleb made coffee behind the counter. "My Aunt Judith thinks we've been secretly dating for months," Elena said numbly. "She's asking when the wedding is. My sister thinks I've lost my mind." Caleb handed her a mug, black coffee with too much sugar, the way she'd mentioned liking it during their whispered conversation last night after Mia fell asleep. "She's demanding to meet you before you take advantage of my emotional vulnerability." Elena laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "This is insane. Completely." Caleb leaned against the counter. In daylight, she could see the shadows under his eyes, the way his hair stuck up on one side like he'd been running his hands through it. "We should probably talk about what happens next." "Option 1, Elena said. "We tell everyone the truth. Explain it was a rescue mission, deal with the embarrassment, and move on." Option 2? She looked at the ring still on her finger. She'd tried to give it back last night, but Caleb had insisted she keep it until they figured things out. "We don't tell them. Not yet." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "You want to stay engaged to a stranger? I want to not be the woman who got stood up on Christmas Eve." Elena set down her mug. "Everyone saw the video. My students will see it. My mother definitely saw it. If we admit it was fake now," she swallowed, "it'll be worse than being stood up. It'll be pathetic and a liar. So what are you suggesting?" 3 weeks, Elena said, the plan forming as she spoke. Christmas is over, New Year's happens. Then in January, we quietly realize we moved too fast and break up. People will forget. Life goes back to normal. Caleb studied her. You really think we can pull that off? I teach 7-year-olds. I'm very good at pretending things make sense when they don't. He smiled at that, a real smile that softened his whole face. Okay. 3 weeks. But we need rules. Rules? I have a daughter, Caleb said quietly. Mia can't think this is real. She's already lost her mother. I won't let her get attached to someone who's going to disappear. Elena's chest tightened. We tell her the truth? We tell her the truth. They told Mia that afternoon, sitting in the children's section of northbound pages, surrounded by picture books and stuffed animals. So, you're not really getting married? Mia asked, her voice small. No, sweetheart. Caleb pulled her onto his lap. Miss Elena and I are friends. We helped each other out of a bad situation. And now we need to pretend for a little while longer. But it's just pretend. Mia looked at Elena. You were sad. At the restaurant. I was, Elena admitted. Someone was supposed to meet me, and they didn't show up. Your dad saw me and wanted to help. Because you helped me, Mia said. When I was sad about Mom, Elena's throat tightened. I remember. You drew the most beautiful pictures. Mia nodded slowly, processing. Okay. I'll help you pretend too. You don't have to. I'm good at pretending. Mia's expression was far too serious for 7 years old. Sometimes I pretend Mom's just on a trip and she'll come back. Dad doesn't know, but I do it. Caleb closed his eyes briefly, pulling his daughter closer. But this is different, Mia continued. This pretending has an end. Right? In 3 weeks, you'll stop? Right, Elena said. And then, what happens? Good question. Elena glanced at Caleb. Then we go back to being regular people. No more engagement. No more pretending. Mia seemed to consider this. Will you still come to the bookstore? If your dad doesn't mind. I don't mind, Caleb said quietly. Over the next week, pretending became routine. Caleb's sister Sarah arrived with her husband and teenage son, immediately suspicious. Elena met them at a family dinner where she was grilled about her intentions, her background, her timeline. She stuck to their story. They'd been dating quietly for 2 months, hadn't told anyone because it felt too soon after Rachel. Sarah didn't believe it. Elena could see the doubt in the woman's eyes. But she also saw something else, hope. Hope that Caleb was moving forward, that he might be okay. Elena's mother flew in for a day, full of questions and wedding plans. Elena deflected, said they were taking it slow, hadn't set a date. Her mother left somewhat pacified, but promising to return for the actual proposal story. I want all the details, honey. Through it all, Elena found herself spending more time at northbound pages. She helped shelve books during the holiday rush. She made coffee when Caleb was with customers. She read to Mia in the children's corner while soft jazz played overhead. And somewhere in the middle of pretending, Elena realized something uncomfortable. She didn't hate this, not even a little bit. The warm bookstore smell. Mia's laughter when Elena did silly voices. Caleb's quiet thank you when she stayed late to help close up. It felt dangerously close to belonging, which meant it was going to hurt when it ended. December 27th arrived cold and gray. Elena was at the bookstore. She'd started coming every day, telling herself it was to maintain the illusion when she noticed Caleb's distraction. He kept checking his phone, his jaw tight. Is everything okay? She asked. Yeah. He didn't look at her. Just, tomorrow's a hard day. Do you want to talk about it? Caleb finally met her eyes. Rachel died 3 years ago tomorrow. Car accident on her way home from work. Black ice. He said it flatly, like he'd said it too many times before. Mia and I go to the cemetery every year. We bring flowers. Read her letters we've written. Elena's heart sank. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. How could you? He managed a weak smile. It's not exactly first date conversation. Even fake first dates. She wanted to say something meaningful, something comforting. But she'd learned during her teaching years that sometimes grief didn't want comfort. Sometimes it just wanted witness. My fiancé died, Elena said quietly. 4 years ago. Daniel. He had an undiagnosed heart condition. Collapsed during a morning run. She twisted the ring on her finger, Rachel's ring. We were supposed to get married in the fall. I'd already bought the dress. She gestured to herself. This dress, Caleb stared at her. The green one? From the restaurant? I told myself I'd wear it when I was ready to move on. She laughed bitterly. Great decision, clearly. They stood in silence, the weight of dead partners between them. Tomorrow, Caleb said slowly. Elena blinked. Are you sure? That's so personal. Daniel's buried here in Willow Creek? Yes. Hillside Cemetery. That's where Rachel is. Caleb's voice was gentle. Maybe we could both use the company. The next morning was brutally cold. Elena met Caleb and Mia at the cemetery gates, each of them carrying flowers. Mia held a rolled-up piece of paper, another drawing. They walked together through snow-dusted headstones until Caleb stopped in front of a simple gray marker. Rachel Marie Harrison. Beloved wife and mother. Elena continued to a stone 3 rows over. Daniel Patrick Chen. Forever in our hearts. She knelt in the snow, brushing frost off Daniel's name. Hi, she whispered. It's been a while. I'm sorry. She placed white roses against the stone. I wore the dress. It didn't go exactly how we planned, but she smiled despite the tears. I think you'd find it funny. I'm fake engaged to a stranger. He's a good man, though. You'd like him. Behind her, she heard Caleb's low voice. Brought someone to meet you, Rach. Remember Elena Moore? Mia's art teacher? Well, we're helping each other, I guess. Mia walked between the graves, solemn and small. She placed her drawing on her mother's headstone, then walked to Elena. Without asking permission, she left a second drawing on Daniel's stone. Elena looked down. The picture showed 4 figures. 2 in the sky holding hands, 2 on the ground holding hands, and a little girl in the middle connecting them all. You're both sad about the same thing, Mia said simply. I thought they should meet too. Elena pulled the child into a fierce hug, crying into her hair. Caleb's arms came around both of them, and they stood there, 3 people shaped by loss, holding each other up in the snow. I miss him, Elena whispered. Every day, I miss him. I know, Caleb said. Me too. Does it get easier? No. His voice was honest. But it gets different. You learn to carry it. They stayed until their fingers went numb, talking to the dead and each other. When they finally left, walking back through the cemetery gates, Caleb reached for Elena's hand. This time, it didn't feel like pretending. New Year's Eve arrived with snow and Sarah's scrutiny. Caleb's sister had insisted on hosting a family dinner to properly celebrate the engagement. Elena stood in the Harrison family home, surrounded by curious relatives and mounting dread. So, Elena. Sarah handed her a glass of wine, her smile sharp. Tell me about your family. My mother lives in Arizona. She's a retired nurse. And your father? Passed away when I was 12. I'm sorry. Sarah didn't sound sorry. Brothers? Sisters? Only child. How convenient. Sarah's voice dropped. So there's no one to ask about your relationship history? About why a woman your age is still single? Sarah, Caleb warned from across the room. I'm just getting to know her. Sarah turned back to Elena. You understand, don't you? My brother's been through hell. Mia's been through hell. I need to know you're not taking advantage. Of what? Elena interrupted, her patience snapping. His bookstore that's barely breaking even? His tiny house that needs a new roof? Or maybe his daughter who still cries for her mother? The room went silent. I'm not here for money, Elena continued quietly. I'm not here to replace Rachel. I'm here because your brother did something incredibly kind for a stranger, and I'm trying to return the favor. That's it. Sarah stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. Good? That's what I needed to hear. You were testing me? I needed to know you'd fight back. Rachel would have. Sarah raised her glass. Welcome to the family, Elena. You passed. Later, after dinner, Mia found Elena in the kitchen. Aunt Sarah's mean sometimes, Mia said, but she's scared. Dad was really sad after Mom died. She thinks you might make him sad again. I won't, Elena promised, then caught herself. In 2 weeks, their engagement was supposed to end. That would make him sad, wouldn't it? Make them all sad. Miss Elena? Mia climbed onto a stool. When you stop pretending, will you still be my friend? Elena's heart cracked. Always. I promise. Because I like having you around. Mia swung her legs. Dad smiles more. And the bookstore smells like your coffee now. The good kind, not Dad's burnt kind. Hey, Caleb said from the doorway. My coffee's not that bad. It's terrible, Mia and Elena said in unison, then laughed. Caleb shook his head, smiling. Ganging up on me already. Great. After midnight, after the champagne and countdown, Caleb drove Elena home. They sat in his truck outside her apartment, snow falling softly around them. Sarah really grilled you, Caleb said. I'm sorry. She loves you. I respect that. Still. He turned to face her. Thank you. For putting up with all of this, my family, the pretending, everything. You've been amazing. Elena looked at the ring on her finger. Caleb? What if we didn't stop? His eyes widened. What? Not the engagement, I mean. She struggled for words. What if we didn't go back to being strangers? What if we stayed friends? Real friends? Elena, I know what we agreed. I know this has an expiration date. But these past 2 weeks, she met his gaze. I haven't felt this okay since Daniel died. I don't want to lose that. Lose you and Mia. Caleb was quiet for a long moment. I don't want to lose you either, he said finally. But I can't ask you to keep pretending indefinitely. That's not fair to either of us. I know. Elena reached for the door handle. I just needed to say it. Elena. She paused. I'm glad you did. She smiled, a sad, soft thing, and went inside. In the truck, Caleb gripped the steering wheel and tried not to think about how empty the passenger seat suddenly felt. January brought bitter, cold, and worse news. Elena arrived at Northbound Pages to find Caleb staring at his laptop, his face ashen. What's wrong? He turned the screen toward her. Financial statements. Red numbers. A letter from the bank. I'm 3 months behind on rent. The building owner's selling. New landlord wants market rate double what I'm paying now. His voice was hollow. I can't afford it. The bookstore's closing. No. Elena sat down hard. There has to be something. I've tried everything. Business loan, applications, grants, even asked my parents for money. He laughed bitterly. Nothing. It's over. Mia appeared from the children's section, clutching a book. Dad? Why are you sad? Caleb pulled her close. Just grown-up stuff, baby. But Mia looked at Elena, and Elena saw the fear in those small eyes. The bookstore was more than a business. It was the place Mia felt close to her mother. Rachel had loved this place, had helped Caleb open it a year before she died. Elena stood abruptly. Give me 24 hours. Elena. There's nothing. 24 hours, she repeated. Trust me. That night, Elena sat in her apartment with her laptop, rewatching the proposal video. The comments were overwhelmingly positive. This restored my faith in humanity. True love still exists. What a beautiful Christmas miracle. She opened a new browser tab and started typing. By morning, she'd created a crowdfunding campaign, Save Northbound Pages, the bookstore where a Christmas proposal saved 2 hearts. She wrote their story, most of it true, some carefully edited. A woman stood up on Christmas Eve. A kind stranger rescued her. They fell in love surrounded by books and realized the bookstore that brought them together was in danger. Please help us save this place, the description ended. Where love stories begin and second chances are always available. She included the proposal video. Photos of the bookstore. Testimonials from Mia's teacher friends about Elena's character. A photo of Rachel's memorial shelf books she'd loved, forever displayed. Elena posted it at 6 a.m. By noon, they'd raised $2,000. By evening, $15,000. Caleb called, his voice shaking. "Elena, what did you do?" "I used our story," she said. "The truth, or close enough." "Is it working?" "Working?" The landlord called. "He's seen the campaign. The whole town's seen it." Caleb laughed, the sound bordering on hysterical. "Local news wants to do a story. People are showing up to donate books and money. Someone drove from 2 towns over to buy a first edition. So the bookstore's saved? If we hit 25,000? Yes." A pause. "Elena, I don't know how to thank you. You already did." On Christmas Eve. That night, lying in bed, Elena realized something terrifying. She wasn't pretending anymore. She loved that bookstore. She loved Mia, and she was falling hard and fast for the man who'd saved her from her worst moment. 2 weeks had become 3. 3 was becoming forever, and she had no idea if Caleb felt the same way. The bookstore was saved by January 10th, $28,000 raised, enough for a full year's rent and repairs. Caleb threw a celebration, inviting everyone who'd donated. The place was packed with neighbors, strangers, people who'd seen the video. Elena stood behind the counter, pouring coffee, when she saw him. Marcus Webb, the man who'd stood her up. He approached slowly, hands in pockets. "Elena." She froze. "Marcus? I saw the video." "The news coverage." He smiled sheepishly. "You look happy." "I'm glad. You stood me up." "I know. I'm sorry. I got scared." He glanced around the busy bookstore. "But I'm here now. I'd like to make it up to you. Maybe we could try again? A real date this time?" Elena stared at him. This was what she'd wanted back in December, a simple dinner, a nice man, maybe the start of something normal. Marcus was attractive, employed, available. No complications. No fake engagements. No grieving widower and traumatized child. Safe. "Elena?" Caleb appeared beside her, instinctively protective. "Everything okay?" "Fine." She looked between them, Marcus representing her old life, Caleb representing. "I should go," Marcus said, reading the room. "Think about it, Elena. You have my number." After he left, Caleb turned to her. Who was that? The blind date. The one who didn't show. Understanding dawned. He wants another chance. Apparently. Are you going to give him one? Elena opened her mouth. Closed it. The question felt loaded with more than curiosity. Would it matter if I did? Caleb's jaw tightened. We agreed to end this in January. Next week. You'd be free to date whoever you want. That's not what I asked. Elena, would it matter to you, Caleb? Her voice rose. People were starting to notice. Because it matters to me. All of this matters to me. You matter. You're confused. This isn't real. Stop saying that. Elena pulled off the ring, Rachel's ring, and slammed it on the counter. You're right. This wasn't real, but somewhere between the fake engagement and the cemetery and saving your bookstore, it became real for me. I'm in love with you, Caleb. Actually in love, and if you can't see that, if you're still so buried in grief that you can't recognize when someone's standing right in front of you, offering you a future, then maybe I should call Marcus. The bookstore had gone quiet. Everyone was watching. Again, Caleb stared at her, his face unreadable. Then he grabbed his coat. I need air. He left through the back door. Elena stood there, exposed and humiliated for the second time in 3 weeks. The crowd slowly resumed conversation, voices too loud and too careful. Mia tugged on Elena's sleeve. Don't be mad at Dad. I'm not mad, sweetie. He's scared. Mia's eyes were too knowing. He thinks if he loves someone again, they'll leave like Mom did. He thinks if he stays sad, it hurts less. That's not how it works, I know. Mia took Elena's hand. But he doesn't. Not yet. Elena knelt down, cupping the child's face. I'm not leaving you. Even if your dad and I can't figure this out, I'm not leaving you. Promise? Promise. The back door opened. Caleb stood there, snow in his hair, something fierce in his eyes. He walked straight to Elena, pulled her up from the floor, and kissed her. The bookstore erupted into applause. When they broke apart, Caleb pressed his forehead to hers. I'm terrified, he whispered. I'm so scared of losing you. Then don't, Elena said. Choose me. Choose us. I do. He kissed her again, softer. I choose you. They called everyone together 1 week later, both families, close friends, the people who'd invested in their story. Elena stood in the bookstore after hours, Caleb beside her, Mia between them. We need to tell you something, Caleb began. About the proposal. He explained everything. The blind date, the rescue, the fake engagement, the plan to end it. Sarah looked furious. Elena's mother appeared ready to faint. But here's the thing, Elena continued. It's not fake anymore. It became real. We fell in love for real, and we're sorry for lying. But we're not sorry for finding each other. So what now? Sarah demanded. Another fake proposal to make up for the first one? Caleb smiled. Actually, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box, not Rachel's ring, but something new. He'd shown it to Elena yesterday, a simple silver band with tiny books engraved around it. Elena Moore. He didn't kneel this time, just stood there, honest and open. I'm not asking you to replace Rachel. I'm not asking you to fix my broken family. I'm asking you to build something new with us. To write the next chapter. He opened the box. Will you actually marry me? For real this time? Elena's vision blurred. You're sure? Terrified and sure. That's the best I can offer. Then yes. She held out her hand. Real, yes. Forever, yes. As he slid the ring on perfect fit, this time Mia pulled something from her backpack. An envelope, yellowed with age. Mom left this, Mia said quietly. For when Dad was ready, Aunt Sarah's been keeping it. Sarah nodded, tears streaming. Rachel wrote it a month before she died. She had a feeling, I think. That time was short. Caleb opened the letter with shaking hands. Elena read over his shoulder. My darling Caleb, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm so sorry. Sorry for leaving you. Sorry for leaving our girl. Sorry for every tomorrow I'll miss. But I'm not sorry for our life together. Not 1 second. You gave me everything. So here's what I need you to promise me. Don't stay stuck. Don't make grief your identity. When someone comes along who makes you laugh again, who loves our daughter, who brings light back into your eyes, let them in. I know you. You'll fight it. You'll think loving someone new means forgetting me. It doesn't. Love isn't finite, baby. It multiplies. There's room in your heart for both of us. I promise. Find someone who knows loss, who understands that grief is just love with nowhere to go. Someone who'll help Mia remember me, not replace me. And when you do, marry her. Build a life. Be happy. That's what I want. That's my dying wish. Tell Mia I love her. Tell her Mom's story doesn't end, it just changes. She can have more than one woman who loves her. That's not betrayal, that's grace. I love you forever. Rachel. The room was silent, except for soft crying. Caleb folded the letter carefully, then looked at Elena. She knew. Somehow, she knew. She wanted you happy, Elena said through tears. She'd like you. Mia's voice was small but certain. Mom would really like you. Miss Elena. I like her too, Elena whispered, pulling the child close. I promise to honor her. To tell you stories. To never pretend she didn't exist. They held each other a family, forged from rescue and honesty, loss and love. The wedding happened in March, small and perfect. They married in the bookstore, surrounded by books and people who'd watched them fall apart and come together. On the memorial shelf, they placed a photo of Rachel holding baby Mia, right beside a photo of Daniel laughing at something off camera. They're part of our story, Elena had insisted. Always, Caleb agreed. 1 year later, on Christmas Eve, they returned to Holly and Oak dining room. Table 12 had been reserved in their name. Caleb held Elena's hand across the white tablecloth. Mia sat beside them, coloring in a sketchbook. Outside, snow fell softly on Willow Creek. Thank you, Elena said quietly. For what? For sitting down. She smiled. For being brave enough to kneel. Caleb raised his glass. Thank you for saying yes. Both times. Best blind date ever. Worst blind date ever, he corrected, grinning. Best rescue ever. Deal. They kissed across the champagne glasses, in the same restaurant where their impossible story began. Around them, couples laughed and clinked forks, celebrating Christmas Eve. But at table 12, 3 people who'd learned to build family from fracture celebrated something else. The courage to love after loss, and the grace to begin again.